Every pregnancy needs utmost care and attention. But certain pregnancies need a little extra attention. An RH negative mother carrying an RH positive baby is at increased risk of complications. BSV is at the forefront to ensure safe delivery in every RH negative pregnancy.
Right, hello and welcome to watching Outside View, brought to you by Fantasy Akada, Fast Up, PSV, and Food and Wellness. And if you're watching here over in India, it's bright and early in the morning. Of course, I want to welcome the two very esteemed guests who are going to join us to sort of build up to the Women's World Cup. It begins today with an exciting encounter. And to take us through that, we have two very, very special women. The first one is someone I'm personally in awe of. She's been a World Cup winner, in fact, a two-time World Cup winner for her country. She's featured in three of them, of course. That's fantastic in itself. A commentator as well. She's been a coach too. And she's joining us here today is Julia Price. Thank you so much, Julia, for coming in to take us through what promises to be an exciting, exciting match. And of course, alongside her, another World Cup winner. In fact, it was a very, very special year for West Indies, both their men and women teams kind of making history in 2016. And we all watched it here on the sidelines at the T20 World Cup. And that was, of course, Brittany was part of that. Brittany Cooper, thank you for joining in as well. It's a special morning, guys. And if you've sort of just stepped in here, and you would notice that ticker there, New Zealand has won the toss and to bowl field first versus West Indies. But before we get to that big, big opening match today, just want to get your thoughts, women, on the tournament itself. I think there is that extra buzz and that extra excitement about the Women's World Cup this time. There's something special in the air. Tell us your thoughts. Julie, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, well, obviously New Zealand, last time they hosted a World Cup, they won it. And unfortunately, I was on the receiving end of that. So no doubt, yeah, New Zealand are very excited about hosting this. There's been so much talk and lead into it, even the qualifiers leading into it, really exciting, and a little bit of controversy around it as well. But a couple of with new teams coming into it, obviously Bangladesh in this World Cup, it's really exciting to have just the 8 teams competing in, and the tightness between all the teams in their competition has never been better. So anyone really could win this World Cup. So that's what makes it really exciting.
Yeah, anyone could win this World Cup, but Brittany, you would be hoping it'd be West Indies, but I know you've been nervous for them, but take us through your thoughts. How do you see this Women's World Cup in terms of what it's going to do for, cricket for women and cricket for the sport?
As Julia rightly said, I believe that this is going to be one of the most exciting World Cup ever. You look back at 2017, you see how close New Zealand came, how close Australia came, how close India and also South Africa came. And obviously because of COVID and everything got put on the back burner, a lot of teams are looking out to go out there on the world stage and showcase their talents. I'm really excited to see what the team's going to come out and do this time around.
Right, and it begins today, of course, with a classic encounter between New Zealand and West Indies. That's the opening game at the Women's World Cup today. And just to sort of set up that encounter before we get into the details as well, it's happening at Bay Oval. Any thought, ladies, on what to expect? Is it? We've seen the warm-up matches a bit here and there, and there are a lot of these high-scoring matches. Quite a few of them, of course, New Zealand and Australia being involved in one very exciting encounter. But thoughts on the venue and what to expect here?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. The Mount Maunganui, it changes a fair bit, but does generally like to take a bit of spin on. All the pitches that they've got playing on this year at the World Cup have all been kept nice and clean. No one's been playing on them all season, so they're all going to be absolutely immaculate. But the grounds have also been sort of relayed, so there's going to be a little bit of sand around. Normally, Mount Maunganui is quite a quick ground as well, so you can get some really, really good scores there, but you've got to make sure that you've got to be able to play that spin because you can turn a fair bit. We're probably one of the most and the slowest out of all the wickets in New Zealand as well. So that'll really be where the off pace bowlers come into their own a little bit today, and probably the selections will be around those as well.
Yes, and no wonder then that Sophie Devine, of course, having won the toss for New Zealand, has opted to field first. No surprises there, but we will get you the teams and how the playing 11 have stacked up once we've sort of finalized that from our end as well. We'll get to that in a bit, but just let's talk about New Zealand first. Horse Sophie, of course, coming out and saying we really wish we get the support that the men's team got in 2015, where they just went behind the entire squad, and it sort of reflected in their performance. What does it mean for New Zealand as well? Brittany, this is a massive moment for them too. I think this is the start of something. The wheels of motion sort of changing for all of the sport and women in the sport. For the hosts, for New Zealand, how pumped up would they be, especially for not having been part of the finals for way too long?
I believe that having a home World Cup is what every player would want to have in their career. The fact that New Zealand are hosting, and you see that New Zealand cricket is now developing. It's no longer okay just see Australia and England. You now see New Zealand that's knocking right at the door. You look at the form that New Zealand has been in the last 2 to 3 years, and it's just obvious to see that Cricket New Zealand is investing a lot in their players and investing a lot of time in their players. What I'm excited about, to see how the playing ladder is set up. As Julia mentioned earlier on, how Bay Oval is, it's very pacey. It's a quick outfield. What I'm
Yeah.
surprised about is that New Zealand opted to bowl first. They have a really really good record at bat when they bat first at the Oval, and Bates have a average of 46, and one of the last 200 was scored at that ground. So I'm really really surprised that they choose to bowl first.
All right. Julia, your thoughts on that as well? Would you have gone the other way? And just a word on New Zealand's form as well. They've been in probably the best of forms, kind of getting into this tournament, and it showed in the warm-up matches as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They had a great series against India. Did drop that last game, so they probably wouldn't be too happy with themselves about that. But they've really got some players into some really good form. Amelia Kerr's been brilliant. But I think not well, a bit like Brittany, they normally do like to set first. But I think in this case, with it being a little bit of a turning pitch it does tend to sort of quicken up throughout the day. So I think they'll prefer to bat and chase down a total when the ball's coming onto the bat a little bit more. So that's probably why they've chosen to bowl first. But I think they've also had some they've no doubt stinging a little bit from some of their poor performances in the past, and they're going to come back and potentially haunt them a little bit. One of their warm-up games they did lose to Pakistan, which was probably a little bit of a surprise as well. But then they had that massive win over Australia, which they'll be Sophie Devine will be 10 feet wide after that one. 160 odd not out of 117, just absolutely smoked Australia everywhere. So I think they've got that confidence up in being able to chase down big totals and score over 300. So I think at the moment their batting's what they're really quite comfortable with and think that they can chase down big totals.
Yes, the trans-Tasman rivalry just as fierce here. But if we could just kind of pop over, I'm told the playing 11 is ready. So if you could just sort of take a glance at what both the sides that will take the field today look like, and that's how it looks like. Julia, Brittany, why don't you guys weigh in? Brittany, why don't you go in with the West Indies team first?
That's basically the same 11 I had. Because from my knowledge, I believe that in one of the practice matches, Rashada Williams got hit on a helmet, and obviously for concussive protocol, she had to sit out this match. So I'm curious as to see who will be opening the batting with Leandra Dutton. We know Hayley Matthews been on top here for a couple of years, so unsure to see if she will be going back on top. But I'm happy to see Alia, Allen, Connor, and Selman, because I know it's going to be a really pacey wicket. And I'm also excited to see what Anisa Mohammed can do on that pitch.
Right. Thoughts on the New Zealand lineup pretty much picks itself. Any few surprises there for you, Julia?
Maybe the fact that Brooke Halliday has come into the team. I'm assuming they just wanted a little bit of a hitter, and obviously the young Fran Jonas has come in ahead of Frankie Mackay as the spinner for the team. But the rest of it, I mean, Hannah Rowe got a really good 4 for the other day against Australia. I was pretty sure that Sophie Devine and Susie Bates would open the batting, and obviously Amelia Kerr's really sort of starting to make that number 3 spot her own, and Amy Southwaite and Maddie Green are very, very solid there at 4 and 5. So Brooke Halliday was probably the only one that was a bit of debatable for me, whether they brought in an extra bat with Hayley Jensen or not, with her little off cutters on this pitch. But otherwise, it's a pretty decent lineup for them as well, and reasonably predictable.
Yeah, and you probably kind of led me into probably the next talking point. You did mention Susie and Sophie right at the top. There was a bit of a break for this pair at the top. Of course, Susie's sitting out for a while, missing a lot of the action, and New Zealand having had to try 7 of them to sort of fit into that particular slot alongside Sophie. But this would be this is a sort of an opening combination. Obviously we're going to see them chasing at the end, but this is sort of the opening pair that you would be wary of right at the start, Brittany, wouldn't you?
Oh, Sophie and a bit like the peanut butter and jelly of cricket. In basketball, they call the Golden State Warriors the Splash Brothers. They are the Splash Sisters. It's so exciting to see both players when they come out there and they just go at it, and they go at it smartly. You have Divine who has that power, and then you have Bates that have that clever, tricky just placement. So they work fitting just they remind me, or should I say, Laura and Lizzie. I compare both of those players to them because they have the same structure and they compete each other. And you want an opening partner that who competes you. Well, in any relationship, you want someone to complete you.
Absolutely. I think that's probably what makes them special. But if we had to speak about one key player in the New Zealand ranks who sort of had a very, very mixed sort of last few years. She's come in here after a break, and she's been performing so well. Is Amelia KERR? I think a lot would have to be said. I mean, if you had to look at her numbers, especially what she's done in her career overall, I think it's been outstanding. Took a break for a while, owing to a few things that she wanted to take care of. But that figure speaks for itself. The most prolific batter for them in that lineup, and of course, having come in there recently, started coming in at number 3 as well. And this is exactly what she did against India, particularly. Was the highest there, 119 not out. Julia, just your word on someone like Amelia KERR. Just a word on what she's gone through as well, and as a player, I think that becomes mental health is a huge sort of talking point for everybody over the last few years, owing to the pandemic, owing to what changes the world has seen. Your thoughts on how dangerous Amelia KERR is, and what speaks of her over the last few years and the kind of grit that she has shown as well to become the sort of player that she is today?
Yeah, I mean, she's been around for a long time. She's a unbelievably resilient kid, and she is still a kid, and that's the amazing thing about her. She's still evolving as a cricketer. Who was primarily picked for her leg spinners and wrong-uns, obviously, which has been the big talking point about her bowling over the last sort of few years. But recently, and obviously we saw the 229 that she got against Ireland a few years ago, and everyone thought it was a bit of a fluke. But I think she's really proving that I think she's got that under her belt, and potentially is going to become that batting all-rounder as opposed to the bowling all-rounder. She was amazing against India, and it's probably exactly what New Zealand needed, particularly with their bat MEs, to really rely on Susie Bates and Sophie Devine and Amy Satterthwaite. Now they've had Amelia KERR step up. They've had Maddie Green step up. She's been great, and obviously they've included Brooke Halliday today just as a little bit of an impact player as well. So to me, she's really helping out with the balance of the team. She's developing into a great leader, and I do like the fact that she was of the right mindset to go away from the game when she needed to, and that shows a very strong character that can do that, and clearly got herself in a really good headspace, and she's just back, absolutely smashing out of the park. So it's great to see her back and doing some great things in New Zealand.
Yeah, and Brittany, we kind of saw in a flash just some numbers, and if I could just ask our producer to sort of put that up, it's about Amelia Kerr batting in different positions. Uh, she's batted all through the batting lineup, and but the one that we want to sort of draw our attention towards is in that top order, especially when she started coming in at number 3, the sort of impact that she has, and the sort of the impact that she has right at the top as an opposition. How would you sort of view someone like an Amelia Kerr coming in at number 3 for you?
No, if you looked at where she scored most of her runs is when New Zealand was mostly on the back foot, where the top order did not, well, I know she's a part of the top order, but where the opening pair did not give them the start that they wanted. I mean, Yakro has evolved so much as a player. As Julia rightfully said, that, mental health is such a serious thing that's going around these days. For me, I have experience in terms of dealing with mental health, and I know that time away is always needed. And that couple months she took, that to deal and to work on herself, you can see in her cricket now that it is exactly what she's needed. And I'm happy with the fact that, she came out and she spoke about it, because a lot of athletes these days are afraid to, step up and speak about the struggles of mental health. And it's a part of the game. We are human. For the opposition, I will know that you have to try to get her out very early, because you don't want her, Amelia Kerr, and Sophie Devine and the wicket at the same time, because you see that the way that they score out, she substitute Bates, if anything, that Bates out early. So we need to get Amelia Kerr out as early as possible, so we can dig into New Zealand middle order as quick as possible.
Just a word on before we move to looking at the West Indies lineup and the West Indies setup. Just a word, Julia, on some of their key bowlers in this particular clash. If you had to kind of pick a couple of them who you would see putting the pressure on the West Indies batting lineup, who would your thoughts be on?
Well, I mean, obviously Leah Tahuhu's the quickest bowler for New Zealand and probably in the world at the moment. So she's always up for a bit of a sort of clash, I suppose. Depends on. No doubt they've done their homework on a few players that don't like the shorter pitch bowling. I know that Hayley Matthews isn't a big fan, and I also know that she's been put at the top of the order for this, which is quite interesting. But she's not a huge fan of the short ball, and she'll be hating me saying that, but has been working on it, obviously, and trying to get better. But that's certainly a little bit of a weakness of hers. But Jess Kerr has really, we say Amelia Kerr's been evolving. Jess Kerr has also been sort of that quiet achiever behind the scenes. She started to really pick up a lot of wickets, picked up the most wickets in the series against India as well. So she's been working hard on her little away swingers and really getting New Zealand off to a great start with her opening of the bowling. So to me, I think she's actually going to be really crucial. She'll be that quiet achiever behind the scenes that everyone sort of sees as a little right arm medium, but she actually can be quite dangerous. So I like the fact that she's going well. And they've also got Fran Jonas, who's come in today, the left arm orthodox 17-year-old. Hasn't played a lot of games, but bowled pretty well again against Australia the other day in the warm-up game. So I think that probably really sort of piqued the selectors' interest. I'm assuming that she bowled so well, and the fact that they know this deck can turn, and they're going to get a lot out of it in this, by choosing to bowl first as well. So I can't wait to see what she's going to bring to this game.
Yeah, 17-year-old, we sure are excited to see what she could do today. But just moving over to the West Indies, that's the other team that's going to take the field today. Brittany, just your thoughts on the form itself. Sort of a mixed bag in a sense. It's been for West Indies. They did sort of have a not so happy 2-1 against South Africa, coming in a mixed bag when it came to the warm-ups as well. Just your thoughts on how the team is looking. It's packed with a lot of experienced players, of course. Just your thoughts on their opening match in this particular campaign.
Well, we know that you want to be going into a World Cup with lots of win under your belt, and unfortunately for West Indies, they lost last two practice matches and the series against South Africa coming into this series. But for you look at West Indies composition, and for me, Taylor has been one of the most consistent player in West Indies team. We all know that. But
Yeah.
what are the good thing about it? She's have a really good average playing in New Zealand. Remember, a couple years ago, she actually played domestic cricket in New Zealand, so she's going to be playing a big vital role in this setup. For me, for Knight and Nation in the middle order, now that you know that Matthews is most likely going to be opening the batting,
Yeah.
we will need a little more consistency, and you'll also need both batters to spend a lot more time. Obviously, the ball's going to swing early, and the funny thing about this is that, even you see, you think, okay, Tahuvu and Jessica has came off the bowling. Here comes Divine, who can deliver just as much pace as Leah Tahuvu, and you know how she's aggressive in the bowling. So for me, it's to, just stay there, bat long, be consistent. The runs will come, but most importantly, the running between the wickets is going to be what West Indies will have to do. We've been a little slack on a running between the wickets, but we need to put New Zealand fielders under pressure and run hard between the wickets.
Right. And for anyone joining us in, of course, if you've got questions for our very esteemed panelists here, Julie Price and Brittany Cooper, do send it in and we're going to make sure that your questions are featured here. But of course, if you're also joining in right this moment, we know the ladies are kind of lining up for the national anthems right there at the Bay Oval. And just to give you an update, New Zealand, of course, winning that toss and opting to field first against West Indies in that World Cup tournament opener in Bay Oval. It's sort of an emotional moment for everyone here watching the sport. But just to move on from, you mentioned Stephanie Taylor, just to get Julia's word in as well. And if you look at her numbers, there was this question someone asked her, Stephanie, and about her couple of centuries over the last 1.5 years or so. And she says, someone drew notice to the fact that I haven't really scored hundreds as a captain, and maybe that was somewhere in focus, even though I don't look at numbers. But just your thoughts on the sort of leader that she's been, Julia, and what she sort of brings to that batting lineup.
Yeah, well, obviously I've had a little bit to do with her, or against her more so with her time with the Thunder and with the Strikers as well. And it's, she's just improving all the time with her captaincy, playing in different environments with different people. It really stretches you with your captaincy. And I think she's done a magnificent job. She's really grown as a player. She's a great role model. Her fitness has gone through the roof. She's really improved and worked on that, which I think it was a good catalyst for the rest of the team that's really worked hard on their fitness now. So they're the fittest they've ever been. But I think, she's ranked 7 now in the rankings for the best all-rounder. She does pick up little wickets every now and then with a little dibbly-dobbly off spinners. And I know that they call it golden arm in Australia, because she does just manage to pick up a wicket when you needed to do that. So she's a very good competitor, a good communicator, and a really good person as well. So I think that really helps and makes a good fit for a captain for the West Indies, and she's certainly been leading them well. But like you said, she'd definitely be wanting to make sure that she can get a few more centuries under the belt and really tick off a few more player of the match awards as the captain, just to lead by example and really drag her team towards those semi-finals.
Yeah, and like they say, it's okay. A lot of these times when it happens in the World Cup is they come in on a very rough patch and they end up doing magic at the tournament, and we probably hope seeing that from West Indies as well. Of course, Brittany would hope that for sure. But Brittany, speaking of another key member of that batting lineup, we're going to see them taking the field with the bat in just moments from now is Deandra Doughton. If I could just ask my producer to sort of just show us a bit of those numbers for her. What does Deandra sort of represent for West Indies? And just tell us a bit for sure, Brittany, about the kind of person she is, the kind of player she is. We know she's fearless and she's got that X factor about her. Tell us a bit about how she prepares for such a big encounter.
I believe Deandra just goes out there to enjoy her cricket. When she got injured with her shoulder and she missed a lot of series, it made it allow her time to reflect and study her game a lot more. And you can see now how she have improved as a player in terms of batting long. Yes, she hits the ball hard, she hits the ball long, but she's now putting in that patience into the game. And DeAndre Dutton is our Sophie Divine, right? And she's our player that we look to put all the other bowlers on the opposite team on the back foot. I know DeAndre is going to be really excited about this upcoming World Cup. She
Yeah.
didn't have the best World Cup in 2017, but just look at the stats. 18 games, look at those average. She's coming into that new opening. Obviously, she haven't found a steady opening partner in terms of you see Williams, you had Kaishona Knight, you had Kaisia Knight, and now you had Rashada Williams. But even though she's been changing opening partners, her consistency has been there, and it showed that how she have grown and mature as a player.
Right, and the fact that after coming from a knee injury to score her career best of 150 against South Africa does tell a lot about the kind of caliber that she brings to the table. But just very quickly, ladies, if we had to sort of see a head-to-head battle here, let's take a look at how these two teams on paper have done against each other. If I could just ask you to sort of take a look at the head-to-head, that's 19 ODIs played between these two sides. Not that big a sort of a margin between the two separating the two. 11 sort of going the New Zealanders' way. But just your final thoughts, ladies. I'm going to go with Julia first before I head over to the very nervous Brittany. Julia, your thoughts on how you see this match panning out, especially the first innings, New Zealand with the ball. What should we expect to happen?
Yeah, well, I think as Brittany mentioned, Deandra Dotton is the Sophie Devine of the West Indies team, and I think it's really important for her to be that sort of person that they can work around. She's an absolute match winner for them, so it's crucial that New Zealand get her wicket pretty early in this match, obviously. But I sort of think, and obviously those tight numbers, only 11-7 to New Zealand. Both of these teams are desperate to get off to that great start. I've picked actually both of these teams to get in the semis, so I don't even know if I can pick who's going to win this game. But I think if Deandra Dotton gets runs, I think New Zealand will get over the line. West Indies will get over the line, and if Sophie Devine gets runs, I think New Zealand will get over the line. I think it nearly comes down to really that brutalising of the ball today with the bat. So I think I haven't really actually given you an answer there. So I'm sitting on the fence. Sorry
You're
about
on the fence. You're on the fence, Julia. That's not a bad place to start off with. But Brittany, very quickly, your thoughts, especially looking into that first innings before I get a score prediction from both of you.
For me, West Indies have to score at least 270. I believe they have to score at least 270 against New Zealand, against their aggressive batting lineup, and also at Bay Oval that leaks so much runs. I know that they haven't been scoring the runs that they needed to in the past series, but you know, it's in the past, and we know what West Indies is capable of. We just need a good start. A good start, and we know everything is going to flow. We have to see out New Zealand pace attack because last series against New Zealand, we lost 15 wickets against their pace attacks. So once we see out their pace attacks, I know things are going to get a lot easier for the West Indies women.
Well, we're seeing all the ladies sort of take the knee there in a very nice unifying moment on the field before match action will begin. Very quickly, Julia, score predictions, or am I putting you on the spot here?
Well, that's my job, I suppose. But I'm probably thinking it won't be as high as 270, purely based on the fact that they've redone these grounds. It might be a little sandy and won't run quite as well. Mind you, Deandra Dotton and Sophie Devine don't have to hit it along the ground; they can just clear boundaries, so it doesn't matter how much sand there is. But I would think probably around a 240, 250 will probably win it. Particularly at the moment, West Indies have struggled to even break the 200 mark at the moment. So that would be a real goal for theirs, is to make sure that they've got someone they're basing around, get over that 200 and really push for a strong finish to get to that 240, 250.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Brittany Cooper and Julia Price. I hope you guys enjoyed this build up to the first ever match here at the Women's World Cup. New Zealand taking on West Indies at the Bay Oval for the first delivery of the board. So, and we'll see you after the first innings right here on Outside View.